we're successful. Come watch our show, and we're the sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show. Give us the word, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show, and we're the sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Oh, welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It's a new week. It's Monday, the 21st of April. You with Steve Wyss and Lewis Jones joins me for an action-packed edition. We're live right in the middle of the half-times in England here today, Lewis. How's it going? Have you been keeping your eye on the first halves?
Yes. Hello, Steve. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're based to everyone. Yeah, it's Manic Monday, isn't it? Easter Monday. It's always a fun day of football on the UK shores for the lower leagues, and it's all going off, isn't it, in the Championship of in the first half. Your mighty Leeds are doing the job, aren't they, Steve? They're only just the 5-0 up at half time in a match that potentially could have been quite pressurised. So you must be absolutely beaming this afternoon.
Well, do you know what? I had visions of me doing this show on the edge of my seat, nervous and getting a bit, antsy all over the place. But I couldn't be more relaxed to start Betting Weekly Live today. 5-0 to Leeds at half-time. Absolutely wiped the floor with Stoke. And, we're going to talk about the Burnley match later. But, it could be a very, very good day for my club, Leeds United. We're in at half-time here. And, we're going to provide some in-play bets. I mean, I've been watching the Leeds game. I can't really suggest a bet for the second half. At 5-0, my instant thinking is under 6.5 goals, actually, at evens, because I know how these go. Teams rarely, you just want to get out of there, pass the ball around, no one gets injured, sort of thing. Stoke as well. So that would be my sort of automatic go-to bet. But when you're racking up the score that much and the party's so high.
Well, I think the record Championship victory since the rebrand is only 7-0. So they're not too far away from that. So if they get word that they could break a record and do it in style, then maybe if the bench could let them know if they want to go and win 8-0 and break some sort of record, then maybe that would be on. But as you say, it could just be party time second half. Put your feet up. The Olays will come out from the Ellen Road crowd. It'll just be a party. So it's one of those, isn't it, where it's a very difficult betting heat to have a go at, but you probably can find an angle, even if it's Stoke scoring, really. If Leeds switch off to the extent where they're just feet up, then both teams to score angle probably isn't the worst. But again, if I do think if they get wind of this record and they want to go and get 8 goals, Stoke are playing that badly in this match that, I mean, the Pirro, he's got 4 in the first half, didn't he? What an amazing leap from him, because he's, as you mentioned in the green room before, that he's now is he Championship top goal scorer? Thanks, courtesy of the 4 goals this afternoon. Yeah,
entirely changed the top scorer market. Anyone who's got tickets in the futures for that, there will be quite a few tickets on Pirro, I think, because I think pre-season, funny enough, the other lead striker was the favourite who's ended up. I don't know where he is. I think he's been injured a bit. Joseph, but Pirro would have been a price, I think, about 15 to 1 maybe. And within a couple of months he would have been well backed. Is there anything here at half time right now that you'd get your teeth stuck into, Lewis, for those just joining the show? A live bet, perhaps?
Well, the game between Luton and Bristol City was is 0-0 at half time, and this is one of the games that stood out to me pre-match for goals, just because there is so much on the line for both teams here, just at both ends of the table. It's why the Championship is such a great watch at the moment, because there's so much going on in the relegation fight, which is between sort of 6 or 7 teams with only 2 weekends left, really. And Luton are one of those teams involved in the mix, and they're playing Bristol City today, who are looking good for the playoffs. But again, the results in the first half have gone against them, really, because Millwall and Middlesbrough are both winning. I know Coventry are losing at Plymouth, which is a bit of a surprise. But I was expecting goals in that game, just because I like it when there's a lot on the line for both teams. I think that plays into the goal line probably be underestimated in the Championship, because notoriously it is an unders league this year. But I just thought that game looked quite juicy from an overs point of view pre-match. So if anyone wanted to get involved there, I'm not sure if it's still 0-0, Steve, but plus 170 I had a few minutes ago for over 1.5 goals in Luton versus Bristol City. That seems like quite a fair price to me, with both teams probably needing to win that game now with the way the results are going. And I don't really want to change my view too much. And I think that if there was value there pre-match in the fact that goals could come, then I do still think that's the case. And I think the in-game stats suggest it's been quite a lively game, I think, at both ends. So plus 170, I looked a few minutes ago for over 1.5 goals. Luton versus Bristol City was the one that probably I would advise to keep that on side. But these things, very hard. Things can change very quickly in play, can't they? But that was the one that pre-match thought goals. So I'm not going to change my ploy at the moment. Anything for you standing out?
Well, there's a full round of Norwegian matches have just kicked off.
Now, I knew he'd go rogue. I love it.
It's a match. Right, so I actually took an under 2.75 in a match, Bryn against Haugesund. Unfortunately, it was already been a goal, a penalty. So not a good start for me. But I tell you what, I'd be going in again here under 3.75, minus 29. This is the worst pitch in the league by a mile. It's an absolute potato patch. It's better than it was 2 weeks ago, but it's horrible. It promotes poor football, and I think Bryn, newly promoted side, they're really, they've obviously scored a goal right now. They're up for it. They're firing, but I think give it 20 minutes or so, they'll soon realise where they are. They need to get a win. It'll be their first win of the season for them, newly promoted, and they'll just be like a dog with a bone. Don't let go. Keep hold of the 1-0 lead. They're against possibly the worst team in the league, Haugesund, who offer absolutely nothing. Haven't scored a goal yet this season. So I'd be looking to go under again. There's a goal for you straight away, Lewis. 1-0 Luton Town.
Oh, here we go. Cool. That's timing, isn't it? That's absolute timing.
Yeah. So that is a huge goal for Luton. Will we, put in your best bets in chat. Anyone who's betting live, I'm sure there's people watching games everywhere at the moment. There's all sorts of action going on. It's Manic Monday, as we say. Do put any best bets live in chat. But welcome in Ming Chun Real, Brendan King, Byron Murrell as well, Steve from Lynn, Disky, Dave Clark, Duarte Silva, Ray Burke. Always great to see you. I'll be keeping my eye on those elite Arian games. I've got a full preview, actually, of Molde, Bodo, Glimt, which is going to be starting in about a couple of hours' time. We are going to get stuck into the later games today as well. We've got Premier League action. We've got Championship action. I mean, Burnley, Sheffield United. I think we can presume Leeds are going to win this match, Lewis. So we know now, I mean, these two teams know that result. I mean, they were expecting Leeds to get the job done. The situation is clear for Burnley. If they win, they are going to be promoted. Sheffield United have to win this game, really, you would think, to have any chance of automatic promotion. But it's a tough ask against a Burnley team. We know about their defence. We know about their incredible record of not losing games. But Burnley are now at minus 125. Minus 125 to get the job done today. Would you be backing them? How do you see Scott Parker playing it, Lewis? Will he go all out for the win on the day, or will he kind of just not move away from his narrative all season of just being so tight?
If it ain't broke, Steve, no point trying to fix it, is it? You know exactly what Burnley are going to do here, I think. I'll be stunned if they change their approach in this game. It's just worked for them brilliantly this season. Parker's gone in there and he's just focused. I think he's realised the standard of the Championship in terms of opposition strikers and attacking play, very, very low and very, very... It's miles away from the Premier League. And if you've got that little bit of quality in forward areas and you can get a team that's incredibly organised and defensively focused, you can win games at this level. And Sheffield United have shown that as well this season. Exactly the same sort of philosophy, all about keeping things tight at the back, offering up low probability chances that the poor attacking players in the Championship that can't finish, and you win games. And this Burnley defence, Steve, I know we're going to be boring people by just regurgitating stuff about how solid and expert they are at keeping the ball out of their net, but they're just a brilliant defensive team that are so reliable when it comes to betting on them, I think. And I just think we just have to keep trusting them. Sometimes it's best not to overcomplicate things in football betting, and I want to invest in this Burnley defence again tonight. And I really like, actually, I know it's short for a win to nil price, but the plus 155 for Burnley to win to nil, that did tempt me in, to be honest, just looking at the numbers and the type of game that it's going to be, where Burnley are just going to probably get in front and see the game out with such a carrot on the line of them being promoted with victory, because they've only conceded, Steve. This is just bonkers. Some of their numbers this season, They've conceded 14 goals all season. And the fewest conceded in a single season ever in English football is 15. And that was by Preston in 1889 and the Chelsea team under Mourinho in 2005 when they conceded 15. So if they keep 3 clean sheets in the remaining games, Burnley, they've created history and become the best, that put forward the best ever defensive record by a team over a season, which is absolutely extraordinary. And Scott Parker deserves a lot of praise for that. I had my doubts about whether he'd be able to get them moving in the right direction this season, but he's gone in there and he's smart. He's a smart guy, Parker, and he's worked out the Championship perfectly. He's worked out that the fact you've got probably one of the best goalkeepers, I'd say, in English football in James Trafford. I'd include Premier League teams in that as well. And I think they built that team around him and the solid defenders in front of them. They kept 29 clean sheets. Again, they could break records here. The English football history record for clean sheets in a season is set by Port Vale in 1950, and that was 30. So they only need one more to draw level with that, and one more, and they get 2 or 3 more, then they've broken that record too. So, yeah, James Trafford, he's the man for me. I think he's I actually think he's in the top 6 or 7 keepers in English football, including the Premier League. Just been so consistently good this season. Not in terms of the amount of saves he's had to make, but just his concentration levels and the amount of faith his defence have in him. Just commands his area much better than he did last season. And I think there could be a debate here. And this time next year, I think we could be sitting here going into the World Cup thinking that could Trafford potentially be the England number 1? I know this is a big statement because there's a lot of football to be played between now and then, and Jordan Pickford's been great for England, but Trafford is, I think, a borderline world-class goalkeeper in the next few years, I think. And a team like Chelsea should be just trying to snap him up over the summer, I think, because he is a huge upgrade on Robert Sanchez and Jorgensen at the moment. And a really big team should come in and get Trafford. So I think it will make a massive difference to their output. So, yeah, I'm not overcomplicating things here, Steve. I just really like the Burnley win to nil price. I think they're just going to sometimes the obvious bet is the best value bet, and I do think it is here with such a lot on the line for Burnley. I'm happy to row in with them here at +155 for the win to nil. So happy with that. Yeah, how do you see it going?
Well, I watched Sheffield United Cardiff the other day, and I've got to say, Gus Harmer, he is by far the best player they have. Take him out of that team, and there's not much there, with Sheffield. They don't offer much, and he came off with an injury last week. I mean, they'll have to risk him here but what sort of state he's in, I'm not sure. Trafford is a really interesting one. He was laughed at last year, and he wasn't ready really for the Premier League. Whether or not he will be ready next, I mean, from what he's shown this season, he's improved a lot again. But based on what I saw at Sheffield United the other day, yeah, I'm not sure they will score again. I mean, my own team, Leeds, didn't score against Burnley this season. They're really, really strong defensively. And if they can just hold their nerves together, probably the biggest danger would be a set piece. Just anything can happen from a set piece, right? No matter how.
Of course, but again, their record from set pieces. I looked at the data earlier. I did the same. Went down that avenue. Where's their weaknesses? Haven't got any. I think they conceded the second fewest of any goals from set pieces, and just I'm with you on Sheffield United. There have been a team actually that they've surprised me. They've managed to stay up there actually, and their little wobble towards the end of the season hasn't really. I did think they're just a little bit of a level below these two actually, Burnley and Leeds, Sheffield United, and it's their record against the top 8 as well, especially away from home. Against Leeds and Burnley, they played them. Just not away from home, just in home and away. They've played them 3 times this season, and they've lost on aggregate 7-1 to Burnley and Leeds in those 3 games. And the only goal they scored was actually a Meslier own goal, Steve. So you'll be happy to hear that for your boy Meslier doing Meslier things as always. So when they've played the better teams, they have come unstuck this season, Sheffield United, and I think Wilder's done a brilliant job of getting them organised, getting them tough to beat. But when they come up against the better sort of attacks with that little bit of quality, I do think they do struggle. And I'd actually be looking ahead to I think it should be the playoffs now for Sheffield United. And it's a bit of an early take for me here, but I'd be very much keen to take them on in the playoffs, actually, Sheffield United, when once we get to that stage, because they're likely to be dominating the market like always the third place team normally does. But just their record in playoff campaigns is absolutely horrendous. They've never been promoted through the playoffs in 9 attempts. And I just think that's going to hang around their neck like sort of a lead weight, really, during this. It's going to be everyone's going to be talking about. It's going to affect the players, no doubt. They've just got a hoodoo in the playoffs. And as I said, I don't really think they're that much far clear of the likes of Sunderland and the likes of Coventry and these teams below them. And we saw last season with Leeds, didn't we, Steve, who came third? They got to the playoffs and they couldn't get the job done when they were fancied to being dispatched in the final by Southampton. So I'd be worried about them being able to lift themselves for the playoffs, actually, Sheffield United. So just one to note, I think, when the markets come available for the playoffs, I'll be looking to get against Sheffield United just with their horrendous history in the playoffs, just with the extra pressure and the fact that they've just struggled against the top 8 this season as well. So maybe one for the futures there when that market becomes available. But they're still in for a shot, aren't they? They win tonight. They win tonight. It's a huge turnaround, isn't it? It's like a 6-pointer, really, this one. So if they do get a result tonight, they're right back in it with Burnley. So it's a big fixture, and I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Just think with Chris Wilder as the manager, he's both a blessing and a curse this season because he's very experienced. He's done it before. He has a lot of positives, but I feel like the recent sort of blip they had, I don't think he helped with some of his comments that he was saying in the game, some of his antics, the Plymouth game especially. Beforehand, the team talk was written, on the chalkboard for Plymouth before that game, what he said. So I don't know. I think he needs to just not calm himself down, but just do the right things, work on his positives. Chris Wilder's positives, he's very, very experienced. He knows how to get the job done. But for me, there's doubts there. He's going to get them psyched up tonight. We know what he's like. He's going to get them psyched up. There could be a few mentioning cards here in the chat, actually. Meninda here, Hazard, goalkeeper for Plymouth. He's fond of time-wasting card, 8-1 in play. Burnley win Trafford card at 14-1. I mean, this is the time of year where goalkeepers can get booked. No doubt about it. And really it's an easy card for a ref to give as well. Refs love giving cards to goalkeepers because you can never really argue against it, can you?
No, exactly. And I think they're encouraged to actually do that. Some managers even encourage goalkeepers to try and get a booking, because it suggests that they've done their job in terms of time wasting. Because a booking for a goalkeeper doesn't mean anything really during the game, is it? You just got. When have you ever seen a goalkeeper sent off for 2 yellow cards for time wasting?
No,
never. So
happen,
it's always part of the key of game management with the goalkeepers. And it's one of those bets that are mutually inclusive, aren't they? When you've got a team to win and the goalkeeper to be carded. The price always the algorithms always spit out a bigger price than it should because they're both relatable, if that makes sense. So the Trafford card, Burnley win. I think that's a very shrewd bet, that one.
It's Luton 2, Bristol City 1 now. Where was the over 2.5?
Didn't need the over 0.1. They just need the over 2.5. So yeah,
should have laddered it.
Excellent. I know. Am I seeing things into the future here? Have we time traveled and I managed to call that? Or that's incredible. That is how many minutes? 15 minutes?
61 minutes. When there's still time left. I don't know if anyone's watching that game live now.
Super.
Bristol City aren't going to be happy with losing 2-1, so they'll be going.
Could be more.
To get back into it.
That was my whole philosophy around it. I thought when I said the first half suggested that both teams were going for the win, and the second half has continued that way. And one's gone in, and they probably know the results around them. Everyone's winning. They need to go and play attacking football. So, and the markets seem to just be against goals in the Championship, which is what the data is probably telling you from the season. But this is the end of the season. This is where teams need to win, and goals, especially in games like this where they both need to win. Yeah, it's glad that theory has come to fruition. So that's a good start. Good start to the show, Steve.
I've got another theme here because on Friday I backed the Middlesbrough Rovers, and I'm going to go Middlesbrough Rovers again here. 1-1 they are against Sheffield Wednesday. The door is open for you. Bristol City losing, Coventry losing. If they win the game, it's really worth their while here. They actually should have gone 2-0 up. They missed a penalty. Sheffield Wednesday equalised, and now you can get an over 3 Asian goal line at -143 with Bet Rivers in play. I think that's a pretty safe call. They can't afford to draw this game. They've got to go for broke if Sheffield Wednesday, we know they've had issues, but it seems like they've had a lot of shots in the match, so maybe they're just kind of freewheeling a bit.
Got nothing to play for, have they, Sheffield Wednesday either? So you should be getting Middlesbrough taking advantage of that situation, really. But they're a team that they've frustrated me all season. Middlesbrough, actually, they're one of those that I think a lot of people had them sort of a lock for a top 6 finish this year. Going to kick on under Carrick again, but it's not really happened for him, has it?
Yeah, it hasn't really happened. Brian Donnelly, Marco Fragi, anytime goal scorer for a scrums God set. That is actually a bet I'm on in the Norwegian game. It is 0-0 right now. He's been flying of late. Bryn, unfortunately, did get a second goal. They come out the traps really strong, but they are now in a defensive mode. Hamcam 0, Viking 3 after just 13 minutes. I'm glad I'm not on the... Well, if you're on the unders in that game, you've lost already.
Put out your misery early. Sometimes it's for the best. Sometimes those bets, just get it out of the way. I'd rather be 3-0 down after 12 minutes for an unders bet rather than losing it in the last minute. Just we get on with our lives then earlier. Saves a bit of time.
Okay, so we've got a big Premier League game. Actually, no one's really talking about this match. I've seen no one mentioning it at all. Lewis,
big game. It's a big game.
It's a big game. Actually, it's a really big game for Forest. They go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I mean, this is a genuine pick'em in terms of the odds. Let me just get the latest price for you. Plus 155 now, Notts Forest. Yeah. So, you know, they are a very slight favourite. I mean, for Tottenham, it's all about Europa League now. Simple as that, really. But is there an element where they need to sort of string together some performances, get players firing, give, you know, the manager some options ahead of that semi-final or not? I mean, Forest, to me, if I was to have a free bet on the game, I'd be on Forest. I think motivation, it means more. I think the matchup suits them better. I'm interested to hear your take on this, Lewis.
Yes, I'm with you. Actually, I'm very much in the Forest camp here. As you say, they're into favourites to win the match now, and that's absolutely. If we time travelled back to the start of the season, you told me Forest would go off favourites at Spurs in April, I'd have told you to go back to the mental asylum. I think because Spurs finished 45 points ahead of Nottingham Forest last season, and now Forest are 20 points ahead of them in the league, and. In August, we always rewind back to our horrible takes sometimes, don't we, when we're at the start of the season. One of my main anti-post plays actually was getting with Spurs for a top 4 finish. And there's probably clips on me on social media at the start of the season doing my anti-post previews. Me bigging up Spurs to finish in the top 4 of Dominic Solanke to be Premier League top goal scorer, score 20 goals, take Spurs, he's the missing link, etc. like that. But it's just not happened at all for him. Injuries have obviously hampered him. Injuries have hampered Spurs, but I don't think that's the drop-off has been so significant. I think it's more to do with just the way that Ange Ball just has not worked for Tottenham this season. And I don't think it's a very sustainable way of playing football in the Premier League, the way he wants to do it. And it just looks like the players have lost a little bit of belief in it. Even the second half performance at Frankfurt, that wasn't Ange Ball, was it? That was just backs to the wall. Let's just try and get through. And I did actually think they were quite fortunate in the last 10 minutes not to concede in that game, the way they were just hanging on and not really. The typical Ange Postecoglou team would be pressing high up the pitch. They'd be trying to score the second goal, but it's just obviously needs must, and the nerves kicked in, and Ange Ball was nowhere to be seen. I do think that's been the case for about sort of 6 months now, because their record in the Premier League this season has been absolutely atrocious, haven't they? Since beating Man City, which I think 4-0 on the 23rd of November, only the bottom 3 have picked up fewer points than Spurs. So over a big sample size now, they've shown they are a bottom half team. And that was their first clean sheet in Germany against Frankfurt for 11 games. And it's just that they're not a team that I really trust at all playing at home. I mentioned this is a very unsustainable way of playing football. I think this very attack-minded, high-pressing game week to week. Players just can't sustain it, I think, and they've just been so bad this season. It's 2 clean sheets in the last 31 Premier League home games, and this is Tottenham we're talking about. This isn't a typical mid-table relegation battling team. This is Tottenham Hotspur here. 2 clean sheets in the last 31 home games is just absolutely atrocious. So if we are taking Spurs as a bottom half team, I know it doesn't look right them being down there, but I think on the league table, as they say, doesn't lie over the season. Whether that's true or not, I'm not a great believer in. But this is a huge sample size now. We've got Spurs being a bottom half team. Forest have got a very strong record against bottom half teams this season. It's what they built their season on, really. They've won 13 of their 15 Premier League games against bottom half teams this season. And their only defeat in that time was against Everton last week. So, but Everton probably, under Moyes, they've probably been borderline top 10, I think, since he's taken charge. So maybe that was a little bit harsh to declare them as bottom half. But this Forest team, I know they're feeling the pressure a little bit. It's a big game for them. I think being away from home actually helps them here because the City ground seemed like a place full of nerves last weekend against Everton. Didn't help matters. And I just think they're tactically perfectly set up to beat Spurs, who are just so predictable in how they play, and they're so open to getting hit in transition. And this is what Forest do with Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White. When they get the ball after defending in a low block, they like to spring. They like to get in between the centre-backs, and Spurs leave a lot of space between the centre-backs and the full-backs. I could see Gibbs White threading those balls through to Wood, to Elanga, and I think they're going to cause them a lot of problems tonight. So yeah, that price for a Forest win, very happy to back that. But I do think there's a smarter way here Steve, that we can get Forest at plus 350 to win by 1 goal. I think that's a really nice jump from plus what they might plus 160 are they Forest to win on the
is this
money line?
The three-way spread, the three-way handicap, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the winning margin to be 1 goal. So Spurs have had 14 Premier League defeats this season by 1 goal margin. So that's 4 more than any other Premier League team. And they'll actually set a new Premier League record should they lose by a game by 1 goal. No team has ever lost 15 Premier League games by a 1 goal margin over the course of a season. And then just to flip it even more, if you look at who's top of the 1 goal margin victories this season, it's Nottingham Forest. They've won 10 by a single goal this season. And that's exactly how this game's going to pan out, I think. I think once Forest will probably start quite brightly and look a threat on the counter-attack, hopefully get their goal. And then they're just going to be trying to see the game out. And do Spurs have enough oomph and motivation and quality to really test this Forest backline that have been so strong over the course of the season? I'm not sure they have. I'm not sure they'll be able to break them down. So I think the 1 goal margin victory here for Forest at plus, where were we? Plus 350. I think that's a
plus
I think
3. Yeah. 360 actually, I think now.
360, yeah. So I think this is the way to play. I think we can get greedy here. And if you fancy Forest, obviously the money line is absolutely fine, but I think we can nick a bit of value here on the plus 350 for Forest to win by 1 goal. Do you and that seems like you're echoing my thoughts there. You're quite confident of Forest causing them problems in transition?
I like Forest to win the game. I don't honestly think Spurs are that great a side. I mean, I couldn't believe they kept a clean sheet against Frankfurt. I can't believe they actually only conceding 1 goal against them over the 2 legs. I felt like there should have been more goals in it. I mean, I'm going to be really interested to see how they get on against Bodo Glimt in the semi-final. I mean, minus 400 on Spurs to qualify for the final of that competition. I wouldn't go anywhere near that with my money at all. I'm not saying they can't do it, but minus 400, no thanks. Forest, this means a lot to them. There's an interesting stat that I've got through from producer Troy for this game, actually. I think he's projected to start. I think he's over his niggle now. Chris Wood has scored a goal in 7 of his last 9 Monday night football appearances. So this is a guy who likes a Monday night on front of the Sky cameras. So I need to look. I don't know what price he is any time here, Chris Wood, but I think he's the sort of player who can cause problems to Spurs because he's going to get stuck in. I don't know what sort of mindset Spurs are in, Lewis. I don't know whether they will be looking ahead. We know that. Are they really going to want this game? I think.
Well, team news as well is going to be key, isn't it? When the teams are announced, keep an eye because if the Van der Ven's rested, then I'd be even more confident of Forest getting maximum points here because he's such a massive player for them. He can actually play the way that Postecoglou wants to play in terms of pushing up the pitch and then covering with his remarkable recovery pace. But then, do you want to risk him? So if his hamstring goes in one of these Premier League games, then it's over in the Europa League for them. For me, I think he's such a massive player for them in everything they want to do with this style of football under this manager. They need to wrap him up in cotton wool, whether that's playing 60 minutes or coming on for 30 minutes at the end just to keep him ticking over. But I can't imagine they'll want to be testing out that hamstring at any point in these Premier League games over the next few weeks. I think, especially because, as you say, they're very short price to get through to the final. So that's where their priority is going to lie. And if I'd be resting Van der Ven if I was Postecoglou, but then you also need to keep him fresh and keep him fit as well. So it's a very delicate situation for him to manage. But I'd check team news really because they could rest. It was a really emotional game, wasn't it, on Thursday? You could tell it meant a lot to them, and they might just be keen to just rest some of their key players again. So as always, please check team news to see how strong Spurs have gone. Also got another bet here, Steve, in the corners market. Actually, I know it's a market which I like to play when the prices are right here. And Spurs to win most corners, I think that's a really, really good bet here at minus 133. I would have it a lot shorter than that based on stylistically the matchup in this team between Spurs and Forest in terms of winning corners, because Forest have lost the corner count in 17 of their last 22 Premier League matches. And it makes sense as well, just from a tactical point of view, the way that Nuno Espirito Santo sets up his team to defend in a low block. They do soak up a lot of pressure. They're happy to concede chances down the side, and that does end up forcing corners against. And Spurs are a brilliant team for winning corners. They do like to get their fullbacks involved. They work the overloads. It's how Postecoglou's teams play. They try and work the overloads out wide, get the cutbacks. And they've averaged 7.7 corners per game this season in the Premier League, which is the second highest of any team. So just if we think that Forest are going to edge ahead in this game as well, which I think is going to happen, that bodes well for this bet, because Forest will not be attacking. They will happily sit on a 1-goal lead. This is a massive night for them, and a 1-goal victory is absolutely fine for them. And I can see Spurs dominating possession and creating those overloads and winning corners. So the game state is probably quite crucial. If Forest go behind, then this is a problem for this bet. But I do think with Forest likely to stand a good chance of winning this game, the Spurs to win most corners at -133. I think that's too big based on some of the stats out there. And Spurs won the corner race in the reverse fixture 7-2 at the City Ground as well. And it's actually been a common theme for them to be pummeled in the corner race as well. Not just lose it, Forest, but absolutely get hammered in it. So I do think that opens up the prospect of Spurs on the corner handicap as well, because Forest have lost the corner race by 4 or more corners in 11 of their 32 Premier League games this season, which is a hell of a strike rate, 35%. That is across 32 game sample size. It is a big number. And Spurs are +220 on the corner handicap, with Forest with a 3-0 head start. So that would need Spurs to win 4 or more corners for the bet to land. So I think there's real good opportunities here in the corners market to get with Spurs. And if you wanted to double them up, a Forest win and Spurs to win most corners in a same game parlay wouldn't put people off that either, because I think if one's going to happen, the other one's going to follow suit as well. So they're the two angles tonight for me. It's definitely Forest and that margin of victory, 1 goal. I think that's a big price. That's probably the best way to get them on side. And then Spurs to win most corners in the match, and the Spurs on the corner handicap. Those are the two angles I'll be playing tonight.
Yeah, real Brendan King agrees with you there. Spurs have the most corners. Forest always allows teams to have corners, and I get that. I've seen Forest do that because they don't mind defending them. They've got the setup to defend these set pieces really well. They won't fear conceding a corner. No. So they're very happy to do that. Not a problem for them at all. And Spurs, like you said, their style does promote corners. Chris Wood is +110 to score any time here this evening. Chris Wood +330 to score the first goal. I probably would have wanted a little bit more on that. I don't know. Maybe that might look a big price, though, in fairness. It's a tricky one. I think I'd have loved like +130 there on Chris Wood. But his Monday night record is sensational.
What's the logic behind that, though, Steve? Is there a logic behind? Why is he so fruitful on a Monday night? Is there anything behind it?
I honestly believe, and I've said it for years, that matches that are on a Friday and a Monday generally are just more people watching it, and I think certain players raise their game for it. Just I don't know, like being in the spotlight, under the lights. I just think it can add a different factor. Some people freeze, some people don't, and he obviously thrives on the pressure of it. He loves being the main man out there. It could just be, we might just look back at his fixtures and he's had a very easy set of fixtures. It could be as simple as that. There's always a lot of different things looking at. And there he has. He scored again, that lad from Stromsgodset. Has he struck Marco Fargi? Is he on the score sheet again? Incredible player. I actually backed him today again.
Lovely.
Remarkable play. He didn't score. He had the most shots last season in the Norwegian League without scoring a goal, Lewis. Sorry, most XG without scoring a goal. It was like 6.5 XG. And then he got one round 2 this season, and he just can't stop scoring since the monkey's come off his back. This lad, and he's a great technical footballer. Well worth keeping an eye out for him. Marco Fargi at Stromsgodset.
It's when you can use the data to your advantage there. That's exactly what you should look for, really. You should look for players that are generate quite a high XG, but confidence is such a big thing that the data can't really read into, and it's obviously made a difference for that chap. Just to pull that price, actually, that the one of the guys mentioned on the chat for Nottingham Forest to win and Spurs most corners is +240 with Bet Rivers, and I think that's a really nice angle. Actually, there we go. Yeah,
that is a very good
Forest to win
Spurs
corners +240. I do think they're definitely, if one happens, the other one will follow suit. I think so. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
65% of the tickets on the money line are on Spurs, but 67% of the money is on Nottingham Forest. That's where the money's going for the game. That doesn't surprise me. Over/under money's really split. 55% of the money on the over, which probably suggests that a lot of the bettors really quite like the under. It's more normal to see, 75% plus with the money on the over, just as a natural thing. There's been the biggest play on the game so far with the sportsbook has been nearly $3,000 and under 2.5 goals at plus 143. There was a big player prop at the weekend in the Premier League, which lost Lewis. This is really quite a ballsy play, actually. Nearly $16,000 was placed on Cole Palmer to score Chelsea versus Fulham at plus 160. I didn't see that game. I didn't see if he actually had a chance or not. But that's a big
it's one of the games I was working elsewhere on Sunday, but I saw the highlights. He didn't seem to have a big chance. So that is a ballsy bet. Obviously, looking for the trend ender, wasn't he? I think that punter maybe he has been cold Palmer, hasn't he, recently rather than cold?
Yes, certainly has.
But he's a world class finisher when he gets in front of goal. So when the price is right, and if it has drifted to a mark which is backable, then fair play. But 16 grand, whew, ouch.
There was an $82,000 winner in the Basketball Thunder money line against the Grizzlies at minus 556. Speaking to producer Troy before the game, it sounded like the game was done after one quarter, certainly by half time. So that was a great winner, 82,000 there, and 22,000 winner in the cricket on the IPL. I watched a bit of this. This was on the Mumbai Indians yesterday against the Chennai Super Kings. One of the easiest winners you'll ever see in cricket. They absolutely bossed the game.
Wow.
So generally, apart from that Cole Palmer big loss, then it was a decent weekend on the big bets for the bettors. We do have, by the way, incredibly, the bottom four are all winning in the championship right now, Lewis.
Best league in the world. It's the best league in the world. Not in terms of goal outputs, but in terms of drama sometimes and how condensed the league is this season. There's probably not much. Take the top three out. There's not much between 4th and 24th, which makes it a compelling viewing. And they're all winning down there, aren't they? They're down at the bottom. They're finding their form. Could be in for absolutely crazy final day if there's 6 teams in for chance and no one's gone down yet. Really, really exciting stuff down in the championship for sure.
Yeah, I did back that goalkeeper for Plymouth. They're 3-1 up now. I wonder if it's worth backing all the goalkeepers of these teams that are leading right now. I haven't got time to do it, but it would be an interesting angle. Maybe some have been booked already, I'm not aware of. But we are in time-wasting territory now for players.
How many have Leeds got? Have Leeds got the record yet? How many have they got? They got
6-0.
6-0. Need 2 more for the record.
Yeah, Willie Nonto did grab a goal. I think it was about 15, 20 minutes ago. But yeah, incredibly, the bottom 4 all winning. Hull also winning there against Preston. So at the minute, there's pressure on Preston. There's pressure on Oxford United. There's a couple more games we're going to talk about before we go. We've got a match in La Liga today. This is Girona against Real Betis. There was a Serie A card, of course. I did have my notes from last night. Did quite a bit of research into Serie A, but unfortunately, the Pope died today. So all of the Serie A matches have been cancelled in Italy. But the Spanish game here, Girona suddenly under pressure, a Champions League team, of course. But they're under real pressure at only 3 points above the drop zone against Pellegrino's Betis side, who, Spain now gets 5 places in the Champions League race. They might get 6 places if Athletic Bilbao win the Europa League, which is very possible. And Real Betis are in 6th place. They're 4 points behind Villarreal. And they really need the win here. And I think Real Betis are the side. You could take the money line here, plus 148 or minus a quarter ball handicap, plus 112. Girona have been sinking this has been like the Titanic recently. They're in terrible form. And one thing I've been watching quite a lot of Real Betis in the Conference League, Lewis. And it's quite clear to me that the actual focus is more on La Liga. Yeah. He's been resting players. I
watched a bit of that actually. Their second leg the other day, a bit of a non-event really, but they looked like they had. I know it's a very big competition for them, and they're in a good position in the tie, but they did look like they were prioritising what was going on back in the league. So they're obviously going to be fully wound up for tonight, I think.
Real Betis, I hate taking their player props. Someone actually gave out a good winner on the Thursday live show in the chat on Bakambu to score. I don't think he's even going to start here, Bakambu. Yeah. He really rotates the team around. I can't remember if it was the same when he was at Man City over here, won the title with Man City, of course. But these players, if you're going to take props for Betis, be careful. They can come off at half-time after an hour. They've actually got quite a loaded squad in the final third of the field now. Did some really good business in the January transfer window. Anthony's been firing for them. They brought in Cucho from the MLS. And I think they're a team very much on the up. And don't even be fooled about the Conference League as being a distraction. They'd love to win it, but they'd love more than anything is to get into the Champions League. for next season, Real Betis, that would be a really good one
Yeah,
for them.
I've laid Chelsea. I've laid Chelsea in the Conference League. I laid them a few months ago, just expecting them to have a wobble at some point in a match. Hasn't happened yet, and I'm a regular listener actually to you and James Eastham on the Thursday shows, and I know James has been very much on the Chelsea bandwagon. But I mean, there were sort of signs of that in the second leg against on Thursday, wasn't there? That they can have one of these wobbles. I do think they're not a very trustworthy team, Chelsea. They're very inexperienced, and I think I'm not sure. I'm still quite confident that they won't win this tournament, especially if they get to the final and play Betis. I think that's a great fixture for Betis. So yeah, and I'm keen on keeping how they're getting on in La Liga, Betis, because I think they're on the up, aren't they? They've improved a lot in the last few months. Like so them. Yeah, they might be the ones to get this Chelsea lay over the line, hopefully in the final.
Yeah, I definitely think they're a bet today in whatever form you want to get with them. You could play it safe, go draw no bet. You could take the quarter ball handicap money line plus 148. Someone said there, what is that price really? Because it just looked. I thought they'd be around about plus 110, plus 120 just to win the game. Girona are not as probably in terms of on paper they're not as bad as a bottom 5 team you might think, but they're not in great form. Just did some interesting diving into this game earlier. Both sides ranking the bottom 5 for fouls this season in La Liga, and also the bottom 6 for cards obtained. Betis have the most interceptions of any team. So really, they're not the sort of side that gets stuck in. They like to be well positioned to break up play. So if you are involved in the cards market and fouls market later on, this might not be the sort of game that goes crazy, but it is La Liga and cards can flow like confetti in any given moment. More chance of cards for, I don't know, something off the ball really than on the ball perhaps in the game.
Yes, it's always the frustration. I mean, I was on the under Liverpool cards line yesterday at Leicester. Oh my God, when Trent Alexander-Arnold scored and then whipped his shirt off, I'm just throwing things. I couldn't believe it. It was it was a nothing game as well. The bet was fine. Bradley made a foul on Mabadidi to get the card, and then I'm thinking, well, how else are Leicester going to force a card off Liverpool here in a game which is now looking like it was only going one way? And then Alexander-Arnold does that, shirt comes off. Horrible way to lose a bet, that, just seeing someone score a goal and then just do the most egotistical thing going, I think, whipping your shirt off. Look how ripped I am. Who cares, mate? Just get on with the game.
We were talking on Thursday. I was chatting with you about Anthony Taylor's appointment in the Djurgården game. And
oh no,
he had the worst tackles I've ever seen after 6 minutes. Taylor actually gave a yellow on field. I don't know how, it was clear red.
Oh, did he? I saw it was a red card. I didn't know that Taylor missed it. The unders king missed the most.
He gave a yellow on the field. And he had to change it. VAR forced him to change. One of the worst you've ever seen. And then when there's a red card in a game after 7 minutes, you've got no chance of going unders on the cards. It just rails into something ridiculous.
That's why this is why unders bets aren't for everyone, because you do have some bad experiences, and where the fun is sort of sucked out of watching a football match when you're on the unders line and everything happens that you don't need to happen. It is a horrible way to watch when things are going wrong, but absolutely in the long term there's value there in these underlines. I'm absolutely certain.
We've got 92% of the money and 93% of the tickets on Real Betis in that match later. 79% of the money on the over. I didn't really look at the over-under line for this game, actually. I think it could go either direction, to be honest with you. Girona used to be a hotbed for overs, but they lost a lot of players in the last summer, and they've not quite been the same. There's one other game I want to discuss. This is the big one in Norway today. Molde against Bodo Glimt. The two teams have won the last 6 titles combined up in Norway. This is the shortest price Bodo Glimt have ever been away to Molde in a game, I do believe, which shows the direction the two teams are heading in. Molde have not looked very good to start the season. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this fixture, and Bodo Glimt, of course, were in action Thursday last year, won on penalties. They're in dreamland. They play against Spurs in the semi-final of the Europa League coming soon. So there will be a lot of people watching Bodo Glimt here, probably Spurs fans, English media, things like that. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact they've just been in Rome 4 days ago, and since then there's been all sorts of hype, and I'd be all over them here. I still think they win the game against Molde, but I think the best bet is over 3 Asian goals plus 105. Molde have been really, really poor from what I've seen so far. They've just been wide open at the back, and Bodo Glimt do have. I mean, they are the best team in Norway. They got the best offense in Norway. Kasper Wartsho, who actually was he had a really 2 dry games against Lazio. They snuffed him out really well. So I think he's going to be fired up to score a goal here. Plus 155 on Glimt's striker, who I think he'll give Spurs a few problems actually. But Lazio did tie him up pretty well. This is a defence which has not impressed me for Molde. I think Bodo Glimt will win. You could also look at Glimt winning over 2.5 goals actually at plus 165. But I'm going to take that over 3 Asian line at plus 105 here, Lewis. And it's going to be Bodo Glimt have had. I think that the Norwegian FA have basically postponed 2 of their games around the Spurs game, so they can focus entirely on it, and they'll be playing them in the summer. So
yeah, and why not as well? It's an unbelievable opportunity for them, isn't it? I mean, I agree with you. I think that price on them to qualify is interesting, considering how bad Spurs have been over a long, big sample size. Yes, they've got Van der Ven back. Yes, they've got the back 4 back. But, I mean, it's nothing worse sometimes at Spurs when there's expectation on them. So, looks an easy fixture on paper for them, but might be more tricky than that. Totally with you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, every time I look at that Spurs back 4, I feel like under a different manager, it'd be really solid potentially. It's just Ange, isn't it? The way he plays, I mean, that was a rare clean sheet that they had the other day. And yes, there was a couple asking some questions about it. I didn't even know this. This is my fault. I probably should have put this on the card. But it's apparently the Dutch Cup final today. This is I think it's AZ against Go Ahead. Yes, this kicks off in 15 minutes time actually. So one of AZ Alkmaar or Go Ahead Eagles will be lifting silverware this evening in the Netherlands. I mean, I suppose it's a bit unusual that anyone outside the big 3 would be winning this competition. So it's quite a big event. We did cover the Dutch Cup on some of the live shows. I didn't realise it was the final today, Lewis. So
it's crept up on you.
I know.
Well, I'd crept up on me. I will unfortunately no help whatsoever to the watching viewers on that particular game. But 15 minutes to get your bets on. I mean, if you've got an angle, get them on quickly. Cup finals, always play the unders in the cup final. That's what I was told. But hey, maybe it might be different in the Dutch Cup. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me.
You can watch it live on Bet Rivers or on the Bet Rivers app. This is the final. You can also watch that La Liga game that I mentioned. Eibar, Malaga in La Liga 2, Annecy, Lorient in Ligue 2, and ATP Madrid qualifiers. We've got Betting Weekly Tennis Live coming up in about just over an hour's time. We've got Dustin Fox on with Mitch Michaels. There's a house special today. I forgot to mention it earlier. Tottenham against Forest. Tottenham to score 2 or more goals and win against Forest at plus 165. That wouldn't be for me today, but if you are in the Tottenham camp, then absolutely get on there. Indeed. So before we go, we've got to ask for your best bet, Lewis, today of the games. What would you go with?
I like that Spurs most corners and Forest to win the game. That same game parlay plus 240. I think if one's going to happen, the other one will follow as well because of the game state. And once Forest go ahead, Spurs are just going to be camped in their half, winning corner after corner, and Forest don't win corners. Happy to soak it up. Forest, notoriously low for corners, one as well. So lots of reasoning here behind both those angles, and I think that's the way to play it. But also, I really like that plus 350 for Forest to win by 1 goal as well. I think that's a very smart way of increasing the price on just the money line for Forest, because you look at it on paper and it is a little bit, it probably is borderline the right price. That Forest price does feel just naturally a little bit short to me back in Forest away at Tottenham, even though what we've seen this season goes against that. But I would rather just try and play the bigger line and get the 1 goal margin on your side based on both teams having that scoreline a lot this season, more than any other team. So, definitely pro Forest, definitely pro Spurs corners. And if we combine them both, we get a nice price, I think, there, Steve.
Yeah, I do like, I tell you what, Spurs most corners, I do like that bet in general, the Spurs corner handicap to be, if you want to really get a better odds. My best bet of the day of the remaining fixtures would probably be Real Betis on that minus a quarter ball. I don't see him losing to Girona team. Got a lot of momentum. The under 2.5 goals, by the way, in the Dutch Cup final is actually minus money, Lewis. So minus 107. That's not a bad. Yes, sometimes it is an automatic bet for people. Go unders in cup finals or big games, and it often works out. Peter Chow,
definitely
go ahead.
something to consider for the FA Cup semi-finals this weekend as well. I'm actually covering both games this weekend. I'm doing it there for Sky for both all over the weekend. So I'll be very interested in playing the unders at Wembley. There's some unbelievable numbers about that place just sapping a life out of a game, and the underline. I think the average goals there in domestic football is something like 1.9 over the past maybe 60 games.
Why is that?
It's because of the pitch
is big, isn't it?
The pitch is big, the pressure's high. I mean, you get a lot of playoffs there and finals, but I think the atmosphere is non-existent at Wembley. I've been there on many occasions, and teams find it very, very hard to generate atmosphere, to keep the game flowing, to keep the game at a high intensity. And I think just pressure takes over, and games can become quite stale and drift. And it's not a great place to watch exciting football, Wembley. So those numbers about the average goals, total goals, 1.9 in 90 minutes, I think, over the past 60 domestic matches, it's the market's going to be all over overs again. So just swim against it and back the unders in this weekend. It's just an automatic play for me. Any domestic match at Wembley at the moment, it's just you have to back the unders based on those numbers.
I honestly can't remember the last time I watched a genuinely good game at Wembley in any competition. You're right. Yep. It just seems to suck the life out of things. A few mentioned here. Troy Parrott to score. That'd be interesting. Parrott or Eagles? Who's your money on today? Peter Charkins likes the Go Ahead Eagles plus a half. They've had a great season, actually, Go Ahead Eagles. And it's been a year for the Eagles, hasn't it? Of course, Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl, and maybe the Go Ahead Eagles can get some silverware today. Good luck to both teams, and good luck whatever you are taking today in all the sports around. And Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to pick your brains with the action, and let's go well this evening, yeah?
Yes, indeed. Let's pray for some luck and pray for some Spurs corners, shall we?
Yes. Well, take care, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. I'll see you tomorrow. Betting Weekly Live.